Everybody Hates Rand is a Wheel of Time podcast that will contain spoilers for all 14 books. So if you're anti-spoiler, pause this, read all 14 books, and come back. We'll be here, waiting.
Our title is a joke and is meant to be taken as such. In the context of this podcast, everybody refers to us and our cat. You are free to feel however you want about Rand, who is a fictional character. Don't DM us.
The world is a mess, Dark One stretching out his hand. The dragon's reborn, the fire's been fanned, but everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand.
So anyway, that's just sort of the whole mood around the state of Utah today, I guess.
Just weary.
Everyone is just world weary.
Oh, yeah.
But this is Everybody Hates Rand, your friendly neighborhood Wheel of Time podcast. I am Sally Goodger.
I'm Emily Jushaw. Sorry we didn't introduce ourselves last week. I'm just doing the transcript and we got cut off. I cut us off like I always do.
Okay.
With some random nonsense.
I was like, maybe I didn't say it.
No, you said the introduction. We just didn't say I'm Sally Goodger and I'm Emily Jushaw.
Well, you guys should know at this point, I hope. And if you don't, doesn't matter.
Get the fuck... No. You're good. I have the book because so much happens. We're in the climax.
Dun, dun, dun.
Haha.
I hate you.
What?
That face you made.
My sexual innuendo face.
Yeah.
Nothing's more satisfying than doing a bit that your partner hates. I have several, including that face.
It sure does.
Squeakle. One of my favorites.
Hate it.
Okay, so, chapters 53 and 54.
That's so many chapters.
I know, it's quite a few. And I know we're recording weekly and that, therefore, our reading experience has been extended over months.
Yeah.
Like, almost half a year. But I am, at this point in the book, it's the climax, and so a lot of narrative threads are being pulled together, and most of them I'm pretty familiar with, but some of them I'm just like, ugh. Anytime they mention whatever's going on with the Aes Sedai, the Kyrian Aes Sedai, I'm pretty unclear about that because that plotline was introduced, like, mid-book, and that was 300 pages ago, so...
Yeah.
It's a little tough.
It was, like, 10 weeks ago.
Yeah, like, I think it was a thing in the prologue that we had Galena and Savannah and whoever setting off and making their plans.
Yeah.
Like, Savannah at one point is like, here's this cube that I got from a wetlander. And I was like, did that happen on screen? Or is this an off-screen? Or is she referencing something that happened off-screen? And it's very unclear, because I know that later in the series there will be something on-screen to do with teleportation cubes and Samael and Grendel.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, did that already happen?
No, I was reading that, and I'm like, what swath of the book have I forgotten?
I know, I'm like, am I having
like, what is happening to me?
Is it happening already?
Am I getting dementia at 26?
Yeah, like the teen wolf disease.
Yeah, Styles is fake.
Yeah, when I say teen wolf disease, I don't mean lycanthropy. I mean how in season 3B, Styles is like, I'm having a lot of forgetting. And what's actually happening is he's being possessed by a demon, but he's like, I could have the brain disease that killed my mother, which is basically early onset dementia.
Yeah, it's very sad.
Yeah.
And very traumatizing. But no, it's just an evil fox spirit.
Yeah, somehow that's the better of the two options. Go figure.
Teen Wolf is very good in specifically season 3B.
Teen Wolf, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna do something fun and new with our synopsis and actually try and go in order of how events happen.
Let's see how we do, baby.
Okay, set the stage. It has been 6 days since Rand vanished. That's a long fucking time.
Yeah.
It is now what is called the Feast of Lights in Kyrian. This is apparently a 2-day event that's kind of like a New Year's Eve, New Year's Day combo. It's also aligned with the winter solstice, which makes a lot more sense than having New Year's happen, 15 days after?
Yeah.
10 days after the solstice. But it's like, okay, this is the year ending. Everyone goes a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
Like, especially in Kyrian, where, as we know, the people are usually very reserved. Suddenly, there's just, like, debauchery everywhere. Fucking everyone's topless.
Yeah.
People are just smooching strangers.
Yeah.
It's jarring not just because, it's Kyrian and we're in the point of view of Perrin, who is, but a tender maiden who...
Yeah, he's like, I am married, but even I have never seen a woman's titties.
Yeah, he's got big... They fuck while she's wearing a nightdress, so he doesn't see anything too revealing and degrade his mind. He's like a Mormon missionary. It's also kind of jarring because this is sort of the, like, constant level of revelry that is in Ebu Dar next book.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, those kind of get conflated in my mind. Just these, like, cities that are full of partiers.
Yeah.
And Ebu Dar is more of a, like, New Orleans vibe. What's the holiday? Mardi Gras?
Carnival. Yeah, Mardi Gras.
And Carnival, yeah. This is supposed to be sort of New Year's-ish, but, like, leveled up because there are no religious holidays in Wheel World. I don't even know if there are any holidays, really, so they're all just jam-packed into this one.
Yeah, I guess.
And I'm kind of like, where are the kids? Who's watching the kids while everyone's just fucking out on the curb?
It's a good question, Emily. Is everyone to, like, draw straws?
Is everyone good? Or are they just like, you age out of the public fucking? I know they're not actually public fucking.
But,
Although,
I mean, they
Perrin
get
is
pretty
like,
close.
Damn, people are making out quite a bit.
Also, okay, sorry, we're not in order, but because it came up, Perrin keeps bringing up that the Ale are, like, offended by people kissing in public because it's, like, indecent. And I just thought that was so interesting because it doesn't really vibe with their whole, like, naked bodies are fine, sex talk is fine.
Well, it's one of the interesting things I think that Robert Jordan does and maintains with the Ale culture is that they're all very cool with nudity because they have divorced the body itself from the sexual context, which our Western Christianized culture has not been able to do. But they are, like, kissing and hand-holding are very much forms of, like, emotional intimacy and sexual intimacy that they're like, in public. Squeeze me?
Yeah.
Mostly it's just funny. Like, it's kind of sad and incelish that Perrin is like, oh, people kissing. But Gaul, known sex god, is like, people kissing.
People kissing.
And, like, blushing over it is kind of funny.
Yeah, it's a good point. You're so right.
But yeah, it is a little, like, you kind of trip up over
it just...
because it's very foreign.
Shocked me a little bit, because I was like, this isn't what I expected Robert Jordan to do with the Ale.
Yeah.
But,
I think they might have established it earlier, but I don't remember.
Anyway, yeah, it is very funny that Gaul is like, oh my goodness.
I know, Gaul's like,
oh gosh. The ankles.
Gaul's like my mom when a sex scene comes on in a PG-13 movie. You know it can't get that bad, but still. Okay, Perrin, of course, is pretty concerned that Rand is absent with no sign of anyone. He talks about how he's been kind of searching for him. Everyone's been searching for him. He's just coming back from Rand's school, where he was looking for him as kind of a last resort. He did see Herod Fell alive, so I know that was a question of where he gets murdered in the timeline, but he is very much alive at this stage.
Yeah, he is alive and dancing.
But Perrin's upset. All the maidens are super upset. Fael is still upset, though unrelated to Rand's disappearance, which, I mean, kind of relatable. The world doesn't revolve around you, Rand.
Yeah.
Sometimes marital discord is...
I don't give a fuck that the Dragon Reborn is missing.
But Perrin comes in to join Fael and Loyal, who are just, like, playing fantasy chess. Sulin comes in and is cleaning up. There's a knock on the door, and Dobrain, who is one of the Kyrianan nobility, and kind of, it has been established, the only, like, decent member of the nobility.
Yeah.
Comes in wanting to talk to Perrin. There's a whole thing where Sulin, like, does a really good curtsy for him, and of course Perrin has his mood ring of a nose, so he's like, oh damn, she's super ashamed, even more than usual.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh cool, maybe she will finally stop being a servant and maintaining this useless plotline.
Yeah.
which, spoiler alert, is what happens.
Sorry.
But Dobrain is like, hi, Perrin. I would like to chat. And Perrin's like, I mean, okay, I'm not in charge or anything. Why? Yeah. And Dobrain's like, well, here's the thing. Today, he says Kyrian has suffered 2 misfortunes, which is a blatant lie. These people dying is not. They're unfortunate.
Wretched.
Nobility dying. Bleh.
Who cares? Bring out the guillotine.
Who cares? Perrin, like...
pulls out of his suitcase.
Oh, people died. Nobility died? No, that's a mad vibe. Perrin is himself a lord at this point.
And it's like, here's my travel-sized guillotine.
Yeah. Hello. It's for fingers, I guess.
No, it's just the head part. Oh. You don't have to drop it very far.
That's awful. It unfolds. It's like an accordion.
Yeah.
An accordion guillotine.
Yeah, like one of those folding tables you bring to the beach.
Christ. Okay, so Dobrain's like, Marengil, whoever the fuck he is, was found dead in his bed of poison, and Milan, darling, apparently fell victim to a footpad's blade in the streets. Most unusual during the Feast of Lights. And Perrin's like, okay, well, people die. I don't know what you want me to do about it.
Perrin's so dense in this moment.
And Dobrain's like, well, see, Lady Colavir dined with guests from a number of the smaller houses. The subject was alliance, and support for Colavir for the Sun Throne. And Perrin's like, oh, I get it. You mean she had them murdered. And Dobrain's like, yes, you stupid idiot. And Perrin's like, cool. Well, I mean, once again, people die. Nobility gonna assassinate. It's not really my problem. Why don't you tell Ruark or Barrelane? And Dobrain's like, no, I am contemptuous of both Ruark and Barrelane, and so my patriarchal weird xenophobia. I mean, I said Dobrain is the only decent nobleman, but there's a line there. He's not that great.
Yeah, I mean, it's like being the best piece of garbage in the dumpster.
Yeah, like, oh, you're the best frat boy? Yeah. There's a real... this
Congratulations.
At that point, Barrelane walks in, and she is holding this long, narrow package. Perrin freaks out, because she is coming into his room now, and he's like, what the fuck is she doing? He starts yelling at her. Fael gets even more upset, kind of going back to what Fael really wants is for, I think, Perrin to just ignore Barrelane. I think Fael's interpretation is that the more Perrin yells at Barrelane or gets upset over her visibly, the more passionate he is.
Yeah.
In Saldean culture, yelling equals passion, which is not great.
Yeah, and I also think part of it is, like, Perrin hasn't yelled at Fael, and so she's like, why isn't he yelling at me?
Yeah, she's like, I hate how Perrin just thinks I'm a fragile creature. Yeah. And I'm like, I mean, I understand that, but you are still not communicating this to Perrin.
No. Yeah, you also got married with, like, extreme cultural differences without ever talking about those cultural differences.
So, like, this is a both of you problem.
Yeah, this is a problem you created and a problem you can fix.
Yep. It's a 2-person solution is required. Like, you know, when boxes say you have to team lift.
Yeah.
Because they're too heavy. This marriage requires team lifting.
Team lifting. Lift with your back. Sharp jerking motions.
What? I thought it was lift with your legs.
It is lift with your legs.
Oh.
It's a dumb joke. Okay. We would say it at the aviary all the time.
Because that's the opposite of what you should do. I was like, oh my god, have I been doing it wrong the whole time?
No.
Now that I really know, people say lift with your legs, and I'm like, what is that?
I'm like, my legs just sort of do what they are want to do.
I am so divorced from inhabiting my own body that I'm basically a ghost possessing itself. So, like, I don't know how to connect to my legs.
Same. And everyone's like, just be careful of your back. And I'm like, my back will break if I do anything with it. I don't have a strong back at all, so...
Yeah, it's basically just luck. Whatever happens. You know?
My back could break getting up off this couch. We never know.
We really, really hope not. But it could.
And we going back to the Instacare. Okay, anyway. Yeah, Perrin's yelling.
Perrin's yelling. Then he sees that what Berylane dropped, all wrapped up, was Rand's sword with his little special dragon buckle. And Perrin's like, oh my god, Rand wouldn't have left that behind.
So stupid.
I'm like, I mean, that's really funny. That he just carries his sword everywhere.
Everywhere.
So everyone's like, oh, his most prized possession. His special belt buckle.
His special belt buckle.
His WWE Championship buckle.
I wish.
Everyone immediately comes to that conclusion. Sulin starts freaking out.
Yeah.
And is like, oh my god. And Berylane and Dobrain are like, calm down, you hysterical servant.
Yeah.
And Sulin's like, shut the fuck up. Goes to the door, yanks it open, yells at the maidens.
Yeah.
She's like, bring me a hair cutting implements.
Yeah.
I'm cutting my hair and we're gonna go rescue our dumb brother. They're like, all right.
Okay, Mom.
She's like, wipe the grin off your face. She's so funny. And they're all like, okay. She's like, I'm a maiden, so shut the fuck up. And Perrin is like, well, the sword isn't, I mean, I know he never goes anywhere without it, but it's not really proof of anything, and we don't know that the Aes Sedai could have taken him because he always said that he would only let 3 near him, and that he could handle 3. And Berylane's like, well, I've had more than 10 visits from various sisters advising me on what I should do, da-da-da-da-da, when he returned to the tower. And she's like, they've also been trying to kick me out of the city, so they clearly have their own machinations. And Dobrain's like, 10? I only had 1 visit. And it's like, okay, you guys don't need to argue about competition.
Yeah.
Of who, he's like, they stopped visiting me once I was like, no, I'm going to be loyal to the Dragon Reborn. And they were like, oh, fuck.
Useless.
Someone with honor.
Useless.
And Berylane just casually is like, oh yeah, I do have proof that Colivir murdered those 2 people. Yeah. And we just skim right over that. Yes. That's for next book drama. Now there's a kidnapping to solve. Okay, Rand's like, alright, Perrin's like, alright, well then we gotta go get him back. And Loyal's like, and my axe! And Dobrain's like, yeah, I can rustle up 500 guys. And at that point, Soralia and Ruark come in and are like, yeah, we can also send some ale. Perrin's like, great, send all the fucking ale you have. And Ruark's like, unfortunately, we can't do that. A, because the Shaido are sort of invading again, so I have to leave some people to defend the city. And also because he is like, I can only bring maidens and the Siswayaman, which basically is the ale version of Dragonsworn.
Yeah.
He's like, those are the only 2 subsets of ale that I can trust to fight Aes Sedai. Everyone else, I guess, is too, like, caught up in the cultural trauma of having failed the Aes Sedai generations ago or whatever. Mm-hmm. He's like, but, you know, he ends up being able to bring 5,000 people, which is quite a lot.
Yeah.
Considering that they think that they're chasing, at max, 13 Aes Sedai and their warders, plus a small bodyguard. So, I don't know why Perrin is initially so worried.
Perrin is like, bring 10,000 ale.
Perrin's like, all of them. He's like, well, that's still we have to fight Aes Sedai. And Soralia's like, does a little flame thing on her finger. Yeah. You know, does the Roy Mustang. Only incredibly weak because she's not very strong.
It's like a little...
She's like, don't worry about it. We got you, boo. And Perrin's like, I mean, that's not very good. And I'm like, yeah, maybe, like, Amis should have been the one doing the cool demonstration of magical ability. Because Soralia is very cool, but
in other ways.
Yeah. We then flip over to the Aes Sedai themselves. Specifically, we are inhabiting Galena's point of view as she is like, you need to cooperate to Min. Galena reflects on who Min is. She's like, it's so weird. I've seen Min first as like this tomboy, then as this girly girl under the Amerlin's protection, and now here she is. Just can't fucking get rid of her. It's implied that Min has just been not beaten in the same way that Rand is later beaten, but beaten in the way that Robert Jordan beats all his female protagonists, which is like switching or spanking. Yeah. Which, you know, still would hurt quite a lot, but it's infantilizing, so Robert Jordan is like, it's fine and sexy. Galena alludes to the fact that there was some sort of incident the night before wherein Rand finally found out that Min was in the camp also and freaked out. And which, like, I know it's like Rand has this weird overprotective streak when it comes to women, but I do also understand if you're, like, being kidnapped and deeply traumatized, the reality that someone else is there with you would also be quite a lot.
Yeah.
So, like, Rand, I don't think, does anything wrong there to freak out.
No.
Especially because, you know, rationally, it's like, oh, great, now there's someone they can use as leverage against me, which is exactly what they are planning to do.
Yeah.
But he freaked out and killed 2 warders, one with his bare hands, so I guess that ale head kicking did come in handy. I wish we could have seen it.
Yeah.
Because I think it would have been really fun.
Yeah.
Funny.
They're like, it's fine.
Min, and then kick someone in the head. Killing him instantly.
Yeah. Lysa are like, don't worry, he's not dangerous.
And
then he's just kicking everybody
in the head
to death.
Yeah. Wow. Then he grabs that guy's sword and kills another warder. Unfortunately, both warders belong to, the same Aes Sedai, whose name is Arian, who's, of course, very upset about the whole thing and beat Rand the night before, which prompted Min to freak out, so she got beaten, so Rand got even angrier, you know, just this big, long cycle of pain and suffering. Timeline-wise, by the way, they have only been out of the city 3 days, so they had just kept Rand in that mansion house for a few days.
Yeah.
But that means they have a 4-day head start when Perrin and co set out the following day. But now they're keeping Rand just locked in this box in that very uncomfortable position. When they get him out, he's like, I'm literally in a puddle of my own sweat.
Well, yeah, they like talk about specifically putting it where it's most sunny.
They do?
Because it's a bronze box.
God, I missed that.
So it's just like a little furnace in there.
They're just like roasting him. He's covered in sweat. It's so gnarly.
Horrifying.
He's like, doesn't have enough air.
Yeah.
It's really upsetting.
It is a miracle, speaking of air, that he survives this.
Yeah, that's quite bad. Like, that's an airtight compartment, basically.
Yeah, airtight compartment that they're heating.
Yeah, like, do they like poke holes,
Yeah,
you know,
like
in a bug box when you're in the 2nd grade collecting bugs?
I don't know if there are holes in the bug box.
Who's to say?
It's really upsetting. I know everybody loves to make haha Rand got put in a box jokes because you laugh or you cry, you know. But it is really upsetting.
Yeah. It's I think we have alluded to this before, but book 6 has one of the better, like, book climaxes. Do Mice Wells is really interesting. We'll talk about that because there are so many factors coming into play here. But yeah, the specific trauma of Rand being locked in a box is really, I don't want to say interesting one, but it is interesting because it's kind of we complain a lot about Robert Jordan using torture porn, and the reality of Rand being put in a box is not, I think, overextended. It's not lingered on in the way that it could be. We're not with Rand every moment of the time, but we are nonetheless able to understand how horrible and traumatizing that would be.
Yeah.
Which makes it a good, well-rendered trauma for a protagonist.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
You don't just want to torture your main characters, but when you have bad things happen to them, you want those bad things to happen effectively so the audience understands exactly how much it cost.
Yeah.
And this is very much an example of that.
I just can't believe they put him in a box.
I know, in the sun. It's
like,
just like...
what are they thinking? Why does he need to be in a box?
It's so dehumanizing, and I mean, I know that's, like, the point. Here's another fun little thing. Galena, and I'm sure I missed this on my first few reads, but she is frequently alluded to be a lesbian character, including in this scene where she talks about how Arian is very pretty, and she's like, I just want Arian to beat up Rand so that she can, like, get her rage out as much as possible, so that, Galena says, much better to travel the rest of the way able to admire that porcelain face unruffled. Galena's basically like, I don't want Arian to be upset because she's ugly when she's upset.
Yeah.
So, just unpacking that just a little bit, because unfortunately we will be with Galena
No, God.
quite a bit more.
Unfortunately.
But Robert Jordan loves to conflate the Red Aja with lesbians, with misandry, with evil. So Galena is not just Red Aja, she also hates men. She's also a lesbian in the grossest way possible. She's objectifying women.
Yeah, she's a predatory lesbian.
Yes. Who herself is then used by a predatory woman, which is supposed to be like, oh, look at that, due punishment.
Yeah.
You know. We'll get into that later. But and she's also Black Aja. So it is very obvious what Robert Jordan thinks of sapphic women. So great. Thanks for that. Galena also talks a little bit later. She references the fact that they are planning to meet up with a force of the Shaido, who they have made a deal with to then kill Gawain and all of his younglings.
Yeah.
Which is confusing because
Why?
what did Gawain do to them?
Yeah.
Oh, I think it was like everyone was kind of just trying to get Gawain and them out of Tarvalon because they were like, we just don't know how far we can trust these young men. And so now they're just like, we'll just kill them. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Skimming right over that.
I mean, thankfully it doesn't happen. As annoying as Gawain is, at least he and his army aren't mercilessly all slaughtered.
I mean, they get caught up in this battle, but
It's
they
not
don't
like a
just get murdered.
point and shoot sort of thing.
Woof. Rand gets taken out of the box only for Arian to beat him severely. It's very sad and upsetting. She's just really going in on him. When it stops and when he's able to regain some composure, he sees that a bunch of wise ones are there, kind of being escorted by Galena, and for like a second he's like, what the great, are the wise ones here to rescue me? Like, what's going on? Then he realizes that they're led by Savannah, who comes right up to him and like does her little creepy sex thing at him. Like touching his neck or whatever.
Yeah. It's just... Yeah, she's the worst.
And she says, I have seen him, you have kept your part of the bargain, and I have kept mine. This bargain that is alluded to might have been also alluded to at the very beginning in the prologue, but the terms of it are a little bit unclear. We're kind of, using some guesswork here, but it seems to be that Savannah and the Shaido will help Galena and the Aes Sedai kidnap Rand, perhaps by, coordinating to send the Shaido in to invade Cairhien, so most of the Ale are distracted. So it's sort of a win-win for both parties. Presumably the Shaido think that they can take Cairhien, and the Aes Sedai get Rand, and also the Shaido have to kill, Gawain and the younglings. And then I don't know what else they get out of it, except that they get to see Rand in chains.
Yeah.
I think that might be a specific thing, as Savannah wants to see him tied up or whatever. Because she's like, he killed Couladin. And I'm like, he didn't. Matt did.
Matt killed Couladin.
Matt killed Couladin. And I don't see you being obsessed with him, which, I mean, thank God. If I had even one more predatory woman after Matt, I would lose my goddamn mind.
Yeah. Be like, no more Wheel of Time.
No, that's enough. Not everyone after Matt, please. Yeah. One predatory woman per boy is enough. Thank you.
I was thinking about that. Of how it's just like, why do they all have to have Alana, Berelain, Tylan, Savannah? Why do we have to have all these predatory women? But it is like, they each get one at least.
I'm trying to think if the only woman who gets a predatory man is Elaine. That I remember. So I was about to be like, well, it's equal opportunity. predatoriness, but it's actually not. Robert Jordan just continues to be like, a world where women have power? Terrible.
Terrible. They can't be trusted.
Only bad for men. Only bad. Bad only. We're not even through the first chapter. And
Sorry.
No, it's okay. So Rand's like, okay, well, this has not improved the situation. As they stick him back in the box. Of course, he immediately hears Luz Thurin's voice. And he's like, Luz Thurin, can we please just work together? And Luz Thurin's like, all right. And Rand's like, all right, that was creepy as fuck, but sure, I'll take what I can get. And they have a very brief conversation where Rand is like feeling at the shield, and he describes it as like a glass wall with 6 soft points holding it together. And Luz Thurin says that the soft points means that the shield is actively being held. Mm-hmm. He says we can't do anything about it. When the points are hard, though, then that means that the Aes Sedai has tied off the shield. And he says at that point we can work to unravel it, which, given time, we can do. Mm-hmm. And Rand's like, okay. And starts formulating this plan. He's just like, I just gotta give myself something to do. He's like, here's how it's gonna go. You know, just coming up with the only thing that'll keep him sane, which is a game plan. Mm-hmm. He's like, I'll start begging on day 3 or whatever, and then maybe they'll tie off my shield or give me something to work with.
Yeah.
So that's upsetting. He starts laughing inside the box. And Galena, Arian's like, he's like weeping in there. And Galena's like, yeah, he's either crying or laughing, and he's definitely not laughing. And it's like, horrifying.
Horrifying.
Galena also tells us, I believe, that there are fully 39 Aes Sedai. Now, I do admire Robert Jordan's commitment to making the situation more dramatic, because Perrin and company think that they are headed to a fight with 3 to 13 Aes Sedai at the max. Mm-hmm. And they are still really worried about that.
Yeah.
So this is a dramatic way of being like, oh, it's actually even worse than they think, you know? But 39 Aes Sedai is a simply unsustainable number, considering that too many of them will stick around for us to have to keep track of.
Yeah.
Arguably, you could have done it with 13, and just having the Shaido wise ones be part of this entourage would have achieved the same effect.
Yeah.
13 is still quite a few Aes Sedai, but technically would be enough for us to keep track of. Especially because I think, you know, Rand, you know, Galena goes somewhere, Tharava goes somewhere, and then a lot of them end up in swearing fealty to Rand, or whatever.
Yeah. Getting put in the lobotomy tent.
Yeah, the lobotomy tent with Perrin.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's the Salidar Aes Sedai who swear fealty. Everyone else goes to the lobotomy tent. That's such a fucking horrifying.
Ah!
More on that later.
Yeah.
Christ. Savannah and the others all leave, and we immediately find out that, of course, Savannah and the others are planning to take Rand from the Aes Sedai. Tharava's like, all right, we've seen what he can do, so now we can replicate the shield or whatever. Mm-hmm. And Savannah's like, cool. That is when they, out of the blue, murder one of the others.
Yeah.
It's very unclear. Again, it has been quite a while since we were with Savannah and the Shaido Wise ones. So if this is a, you know, connecting plot point, zero clue. It's like they just are like, well, bang, bang, out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah, they, like, dismember this woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, I, like, vaguely remember the plot being like, you turned against other wise ones, therefore you have to swear fealty to me, Savannah, or whatever. She's, like, has a, you know, something to hold over their head, but I have absolutely no recollection of why that's happening, how this is happening,
like,
why they killed this woman.
I know Savannah wants her dead because she basically won't fall into line, but I have no idea how she convinces the others to do that.
Yeah.
So, whatever, maybe we'll unpack that. This is also when we reference the fact that some person gave Savannah a cube and was like, use the cube when you have Rand. And she's like, actually, I'm going to throw it away. And I'm like, okay, I mean, I guess it's good that Samael isn't here or whatever.
Yeah, could you imagine? Do my spells plus some Samael.
It's fucking chaotic enough.
Yeah.
But, all right. Okay. Then we catch up with Perrin as he, Gall, and Loyal are leaving the city and meeting up with, they are joined by Ruark and the 5,000 Ale, the 500 Kyrianan led by Dobrain, and, 100, I think, Mainers.
Yeah, I think it's 200.
Who are led by a guy named Narel, who I think probably dies at Dumai's Wells, because I don't remember him ever coming back. Mostly this chapter is about the interpersonal dynamics between these various groups, which is something that's constantly going on with Perrin. He's constantly put in charge of weird amalgamations of people, and it's like, I have to deal with this not very well. And it's like, okay, I mean, he usually just stays in his own lane, which is probably the best way to do it, but he's like, there's weird tension between Sulin and Nandera. We, the reader, know that's because Sulin used to be in charge of the maidens and now is not. It is resolved by them having a fight in which Sulin beats Nandera unconscious and then, carries her away. And then when they come back, against Perrin's expectations and frankly mine, Nandera is now in charge.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't really get that.
I don't get it either.
I do get the, there's also some tension between Amis and Soralia, I assume, about who's going to be in charge of the fight, presumably because Amis is the stronger channeler, but Soralia, as the elder, has more standing normally. This is resolved by them just going off on their own and talking it out, which is just sensible. When they come back, Soralia is in charge, but Amis is higher in the hierarchy and is acting more as an advisor.
Yeah.
With, more equality with Soralia. Perrin has to kind of deal with hero worship from the main Mainer guy. He's like, that's very annoying. Everyone's fucking xenophobic to each other. The Kyrianan hate the Ale hate the Kyrianan. The Mainers are not helping the situation.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not making it worse, but they're not helping either.
Yeah.
Day 1, Perrin telepathically communicates with the wolves, which is just such a stupid fucking sentence. Perrin's like, hey, wolves. I'm looking for, these people. Can you tell me how far away they are? And the wolves are like, 60, 70 miles away. And as time goes on, it's like Perrin and his company gain 10 miles a day, so a week later, they'll catch up. And they're like, wow, what's going on? And Perrin's like, they've captured Shadow Killer.
I know.
Just fucking metal wolf name Rand. And all the wolves are like, squeeze me?
Yeah.
We're gonna fight.
Yeah.
And Perrin's like, cool. I mean, I did sort of wonder if Rand was important in the wolf lore.
Yeah.
And apparently he is.
They're like, not Shadow Killer.
They're like, nah. We've never talked to that guy. We've talked to you, but he's important.
He's important.
That's Fantasy Jesus or whatever.
Even to the wolves, he's Fantasy Jesus.
Yeah, they're like, damn, that's Fantasy Jesus.
The Wolf Messiah.
The Wolf Messiah. Do you think Perrin's jealous that he's not the Wolf Messiah?
Maybe. He's like, why am I not Shadow Killer?
He's like, but I'm the one who can talk to you.
He's like, Young Bull sucks ass. I want to be Shadow Killer.
What's Young Bull even mean?
Yeah.
Lame.
Stupid.
Do
you think they have a name for Matt?
Oh, damn. I don't know.
What would it be?
It's like Fox or something.
Just Fox.
There's oh yes, the Fox.
The Fox.
The little
capital
foxy
T,
one.
capital F. The Fox.
The Fox. God, I would kill for more interactions between Matt and wolves. I would just kill overall for more interactions with all three boys where they're actually weaponizing their various superpowers.
Yeah.
Perrin just openly being like, oh, I can call the wolves. And Matt being like, cool, well, I've got luck powers. Damn, that would be some X-Men shit,
Yeah.
But Robert Jordan was a coward.
Correct. Anyway, the wolves are like, we will help you free Shadow Killer.
Yeah, we also find out that the wolves are, can just sense when women, or anyone I assume, can channel, which is just sort of fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, I just love all the wolves' superpowers.
I know, they're just like, yeah, we know.
They are very unhelpful, though, when it comes to Perrin being like, how many are there? They're like,
They're humans.
And Perrin's like, okay.
No, it's very funny.
Can't you count?
They can sense channeling, but they have no sense of math.
They're like, what? Numbers? So yeah, the wolves are only moderately helpful, but still very helpful, and they will be adding to the force. Perrin is spending, most of the time just socializing with Loyal, talking about marriage and whatnot, which, not necessary to talk about. A few days in, the wolves are like, hey, there's some people coming. And Perrin's like, okay, that's weird. So he brings, like, a group of people follow him. And they go and find that the Two Rivers men, who had been on their way to Cairhien, along with, although not together, the Salidar Embassy, or what remains of the Salidar Embassy. It's like 9, we're told it's 9 women, which again is more than the 7 Rand told them to send. And then all the Two Rivers guys. And Perrin's like, what the fuck, how are you guys here? And they're like, oh, well, Alana just knows where Rand is, so we, sort of met up with them, and now we're all just following to get to Rand. And Perrin's like, I mean, okay.
This might as well happen.
You ever have those days? He's like, I mean, sure, yeah, I'm happy to have more people. And it's like, I'll be happy for you to have more people, considering that you don't know that there's 39 Aes Sedai, not to mention an army of Shaido, which I think is also ludicrously large, because Robert Jordan just pulls Shaido out of his ass. There are always so many of them.
There are 500 million Shaido.
Like, anytime Robert Jordan's like, I need a large force, he's like, oh, I'll just throw 800,000 Shaido into the mix. And I'm like, where are they coming from?
They have a cloning machine?
I guess. Fucking Shaido Clone Wars.
It's ridiculous. Like, if there are only 10,000 ale in Cairhien, how are there always just, like, whatever?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. The math doesn't add up.
But, sidebar, I forgot to mention it. Both Berelain and Fael have been left in Cairhien, which is good. Perrin's like, I didn't want Fael to come with me. I also did not want Berelain anywhere near me. But will also be kind of relevant at the beginning of the next book, because Fael and Berelain are sort of the only ones doing anything to keep Cairhien out of Colovir's grimy little hands. Yeah. Because as a reminder, they did just sort of leave that situation where it was.
They were like, someone else's problem.
That's a problem for future Perrin. Or more likely, future Rand, if he survives.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand it.
Yes.
They're like, yes, fantasy Jesus is in a box.
But also you could just be like, hey, real quick, why don't you arrest that lady?
Yeah, you have proof.
You have proof. Just do it.
Just arrest her and put her in jail.
I don't know. I mean, maybe that would have sparked a civil war or whatever, but who cares? The next few days, Perrin has to deal now with the Aes Sedai, who are also like, we're in charge now. And Perrin's like, I literally just don't care. I'm just here to get Rand out of a box. Yeah. I mean, I don't know he's in a box, but I will get him out. I'm just doing my thing. And they're like, blah, 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 blah. And Robert Jordan's like, aren't women annoying? I mean, those nags.
That's literally all it is. Karuna and Bear are supposed to be extremely competent women, and yet all they do is nag this 20-year-old boy.
It's like, ugh.
It's like,
stupid.
I feel like these very competent world leaders would take a better charge of this situation, but what the fuck do I know?
Or would just be like, this guy's got it on lock. What else are we supposed to do? We're gonna be there.
We're just gonna be here to fight.
Hey, please, can we please advise you on how best to handle channeling? Like, okay, here's what channelers can do. Here's how we should approach it so as to take them off guard, whatever.
Instead of just repeatedly chirping, I'm in charge.
I'm in charge. No, I'm in charge. We're in charge. I was like, I don't get what's going on. All of you smell so weird.
I know.
Goodbye.
Perrin's dumb nose.
Perrin's dumb mood ring nose. Anyway, we finally get to the 10th day, he tells us, with the sun almost halfway to its peak, so mid-morning, Perrin is like, okay, we're gonna catch up to them by noon, and then the wolves are like, you gotta come right now, because there are many, they say many two legs, many, presumably the Shaido army.
Yeah.
And Perrin is just like, eek, and then the chapter ends. So, I hope that was a comprehensive look at what's happening. The next chapter is Dumai's Wells, where obviously all of these many moving parts are going to come together. I believe Dumai's Wells kind of devolves into more of a three-way battle. The Shaido, who are trying to get Rand, but also are trying to deal with Perrin's army. Perrin, it's just a three-way war over this one particular chess piece who happens to be alive and in a box. That is followed by the last chapter, which is just an epilogue and has like 3 points of view, you know.
Classic.
Wrapping things up. But we'll cover that next time. It's weird that we're about to finish Lord of Chaos.
I know. I feel like the end always sneaks up on me, but I also feel like we've been in Lord of Chaos forever.
Yeah. But also I'm just like, why didn't I feel this way last week? It's suddenly when I'm staring down the barrel of the last episode that I'm like, oh, whack. It's
got a season finale coming up, and then we're gonna have to get ready for Crown of Swords and do all that entails, and whoa,
dude. Okay. Thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks to Glenna McKenzie for our theme song. Thank you to our supporters on Patreon and our followers on social media. Thank you for listening. I think I said that already, but, double thank you.
Double thank you for listening.
Double thank you. Do you have anything to add?
No.
Cool. Do you have a sign-off?
So in the 3rd grade, we were doing a production. I don't even know what it possibly could have been, but I was the only kid in the class, basically, who was capable of memorizing enough lines to play the lead character in the play. And so when I was 8 years old, I starred as Harriet Tubman in our 3rd grade class play, which is ridiculous for so many reasons. The primary one being that I am white and went to a school where I don't think a single black kid attended, at least not in my 3rd grade class. So we're a bunch of white kids.
This is just so indicative. Like, I still, as someone who works in the textbook industry, I still see lesson plans every once. One of my primary jobs is fixing old lesson plans that instruct teachers to do that exact type of thing. It's just such, like, a generational thing. Yeah. Now reading that, we're like, Jesus fuck, horrifying.
Why would you do this?
But teachers in the 90s were just like, oh, it's multiculturalism. Yeah. To have white kids play Harriet
Tubman. Have some 8-year-old white girl in Cottonwood Heights, Utah, put on like a little bonnet and a dress.
Oh no.
And play Harriet Tubman.
Do you ever wonder what would get you canceled on Twitter if you were a big enough celebrity?
It would be that.
It would be that you played Harriet Tubman when you were 8.
And it's like, I didn't know better. I was 8.
Please don't cancel us.
Please don't cancel me for playing Harriet Tubman in my 3rd grade class play.
Oh my god. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.